What's going on, DWZ listeners? We're here with the injury report for week 3. I'm your host, Matty Big Chest, and I've got my man, Dr. Kyle, with me and Memphis on the phone. So, what's going on, Kyle?
Whoa, not a whole lot. Just
Hey, Memphis.
another week of a slew of injuries to discuss leading into our main slate tomorrow. I'm going to take it away. Leading off, our
All you,
main
man.
quarterback. Yeah, our quarterback that we're dealing with this week, Jimmy G, probably wasn't a good bet even if he was to go or were to go. Nick Mullins, his backup, will be starting. They're going to be without George Kittle and a good chunk of their weapons. So if you were leaning on him, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't lean on Nick Mullins either. Hopefully, you have better options, even if you're in a super flex league. This is why any chance you get, you stock up on quarterbacks because they will become more and more valuable as the injuries hit.
And tight ends. I stock up on tight
Yes,
ends a lot. Jordan Akins, a big name if you're missing George Kittle. Jordan Akins has been running like the second most yards per route at the tight end position. So he's a big name to look out for this week.
there you go. I surprisingly got Drew Sample fairly cheap on a
That's a
couple
good
of
pickup.
waivers this week in Dynasty, and I couldn't believe that I got him cheaper than Mo Alley Cox. I get the appeal of Mo Alley Cox, but
Hmm.
Jack Doyle and Trey Burton are going to be healthy at some point. Drew Sample's the guy in
Yeah,
Cincinnati right now with Uzoma going down for the season. And
everybody
then
wants Mo Cox, but you got to get a little sample first. So
I'm
I
not
like
even
the
going to
move.
ask how many times you rehearsed that one. Let's move on. We got a number of injuries in the Patriots Raiders game. We got Waller and Jacobs are
Hmm.
questionable on the Raiders side of the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if they both go. That's a big game for both teams. They're questionable. They've been practicing on a limited basis. It's a 1 o'clock game, so you don't have to make too many big decisions before then. However, if you have better options besides Darren Waller, this is the year, it seems, of the breakout tight end. There's Jonnu Smith, Sample, Gesicki, Hawkinson, not putting all those guys in the same category, but there's guys who have gone off. So Waller is likely to be game scripted out as best possible by this Patriots D, this Bill Belichick game plan. And they're going to be
Hmm.
without Henry Ruggs, so they're not going to have their field stretcher. Jacobs, if he goes, he's going to be in your lineups. The workhorse running backs are few and far between, as my dogs will attest to.
Welcome,
They both
welcome my
have
dogs to
Jacobs
the
on a lot of their
podcast.
rosters. Yeah, lots of Jacobs on my dogs' rosters.
Oh yeah, they're
They
they're they're
really get
not happy
fired up.
about it. They're not happy about that new card on the field being too close as well. If you saw that, Jonathan Abrams hit his shoulder really hard on the card, it looked like, and it was way too close to the field for a football player to be going out of bounds. That's ridiculous, I think, in my mind.
Yeah,
But
fields are the least crowded they should ever be right now. There should be no issues like that.
mhm.
Um, but on the other side of the ball, we have Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, who have been big pieces of that passing offense. We saw Cam Newton likes to get the ball downfield to Julian Edelman, who's been a check down guy in the past, but unless all of his yards are coming after the reception, I'll have to look into that. His yards per reception, it looks to be significantly up from years past with Tom Brady. And then N'Keal Harry seems to be grabbing a significant target share. I don't know how he looks on film. I think that's been uh, a questionable, or there's a debate there as to how he looks. But again, he missed most of last year. It's his first year with Cam, so now is probably still a decent time to buy. If both of these guys go, I think you can expect the wide receiver 2 to 3 range of outcomes for them, as
Mhm.
these two teams are both fairly slow in neutral game script. So I'm not expecting a shootout here. Expecting a tight, low risk, heavily run game on both sides of the ball, with a couple of veteran legend coaches out there. As much as I hate to say it about John Gruden,
Mhm.
um, you got anything to input there, Maddie?
Yeah, I would like to say that Brian Edwards, he's a good name to watch for a breakout. I would keep him on the bench. Just watch for a breakout from him. He's got 2 targets like the last 2 games, I think, or something. And he's going to get more targets with Henry Ruggs. And if Waller's not a go, he'll get more targets as well. Foster Moreau, if Darren Waller's not a go, Foster Moreau was one of the best deep threats at tight end last year before he got injured. So I would look at putting him in if you don't have Waller. So he's a good handcuff for
Or
Waller.
be, yeah, or now it's always nice to stash the guys before they break out. So look on your waivers, especially in Dynasty, if you can still get a waiver run before the game starts tomorrow, and you got deep benches, just go grab these guys. And then when they do, their value goes up like that, because their value is no. And Brian Edwards has value right now, but like a Foster Moreau type. Because say Waller does go and he aggravates whatever injury he has, we would discuss that early next week. But then Foster Moreau steps into a position of Derek Carr's security blanket.
And you could probably get him in Dynasty speaking, you could get him for a late third, and someone would just snatch
Easily.
him up easy. And he's a good hold. He's like a Tyler Higbee kind of player. I invested heavily in Tyler Higbee in startups, and that paid off. And I held him on my bench. And then Gerald Everett gets hurt, and it's Tyler Higbee season, and now he's still good. So
exactly,
it's all about the crapshoot at tight end. And Caden Smith is one of those guys that I am taking a gamble on. He's a Stanford tight end. He's a guy who's behind Evan Ingram, who's an injury-riddled tight end. And he's a good guy that I think in a starting role would be productive.
And that's an injury-riddled receiving core already. We've seen Tate has missed some time. Shepard's out. Perhaps they move to more 12 personnel if that's what they got to deal with. Moving on, we have Kenny G. Kenny G was speaking on behalf of himself yesterday to say that he's not 100%, but somehow God allows him to go. He's going to go. The Lions, their backs are up against the wall at 0-2 already, and Stafford does not look like his MVP-like self that he did early last year without Kenny G. I'm hoping he goes, but again, this is a 4:30 start, which stinks because these are two of the fastest-paced offenses in the league right now. So if Kenny G goes, we have potentially very high ceilings for him, Marv, Hawk, all of the usual suspects on the Cardinals side of the ball, because there's no injuries. Christian Kirk is out, but hasn't been a big piece of late. Look for a Drake breakout. I got Edmonds in some DFS this week, as I'm sure both of them will get some touches with the fast pace.
Andy Isabella guy. I'm big into Andy Isabella.
It could be his time this week. Again, injury is what you have to take advantage of in fantasy.
Look at the sirens. Even they like Andy Isabella. See, they're saying Andy Isabella breakout. As you can see, Kyle is in New York City, so he has a little bit of noise. But it's fine because we got the little hype sirens for Andy Isabella. Let's go.
I didn't even have to press a button for that. That's like there's
you got your own soundboard.
Exactly. Custom, random, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you need.
And then speaking of other big-time wide receivers, Julio Jones was dealing with a hamstring injury during the Falcons-Cowboys game last week. And so he's going to be a game-time decision. Again, this is a 1:00 game against the Bears this week. This should be a higher-scoring, faster-paced affair because this Falcons game is atrocious, and that offense can keep the foot on the gas pedal. I think if Julio's a go, you got to start him. But again, it would be a shame to see him start and leave the game in the first or second quarter, or just not be the guy and be that decoy we've seen. So if you have deep wide receivers, some upside guys like Marvin Jones.
Russell
I mean,
Gage.
he hasn't – Russell Gage, yeah. Marvin Jones hasn't popped yet, and I keep saying that because I have him everywhere. But again, this Lions-Cardinals game expects to be a bit of a shootout. So you could probably look elsewhere if Julio is still a game-time decision come Sunday.
Yeah, if Kenny Golladay is out, I wouldn't expect a big game from Marvin Jones on Sunday. But if Kenny Galladay's in, I expect like 2 touchdowns from Marvin Jones because he is a big benefactor of Golladay being in as he takes away the cornerback one. Like he's always shadowed by the best guy and a safety as well, usually.
Yeah.
So I would expect a big game from T.J. Hawkinson. I'd expect Swift to be on the field at least 50% of the snaps because this is going to be a fast-paced game. If Swift is not
starting a lot of Swift this week.
if Swift is not in the game 50% of the time, I do not know what the Lions are doing. The Lions used him
So what you're saying is
33% of
you
the time.
still won't be surprised, though.
I won't be
You will
surprised
be
because they're
upset,
so
but you won't
incompetent.
be surprised. Yeah.
This is the most incompetent staff I've ever seen coach a football game. I watched them get destroyed by the Green Bay Packers. It was embarrassing. Aaron Jones ran all over them. And speaking of Aaron Jones running all over them, Kenyon Drake is going to run all over them. And we were talking about that earlier. I think he's going to have
Yes.
4 TDs. You know, if Kyler Murray doesn't vulture him away.
What's that prop at on mybookie.ag?
Couldn't tell you. I'm not a big bettor. I'm a college student. Don't have the money for that.
I'll go find out for you. And if it's like,
Please tell me.
4 TDs got to be like, I don't know, at least 60 to 1, maybe 100 to 1, somewhere in that range, if it's even an option. Anyway,
Put
we
10 bucks on
digress.
it.
Our next big name wide receiver, he's a number 1 wide receiver for one of the AFC East. I got nothing. Hey, we got Braxton Berrios showed up on the
number 1
injury report. The number 1 receiver in the MetLife Stadium in Rutherford, New Jersey. I'm not even going to call them a New York team because them and the Giants, they and the Giants are in the armpit of the United States. Braxton Berrios is questionable. If you're in, we're in leagues, Maddie, where we're able to start up to like 4 or 5 flexes. This is where you're listening because Braxton Berrios could be useful there. But if you're in a typical league that starts 2 to 3 wide receivers in a flex and you're already leaning on Braxton Berrios, then you either drafted really well and have guys like Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams and Kenny G and DJ Chark and AJ Brown, these guys who have all missed time. Godspeed. But Braxton Berrios is questionable, so keep an eye out. Yeah, that's all I got for you there.
I had a team that I drafted with Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay, AJ Brown. And now I'm 0-2, and I sold Michael Thomas, and I'm tanking in my tank. Because that season is done really quick when you start 0-3 and about to be 0-4 with all those injuries. It's just been rough.
What'd you get for Michael Thomas?
I sold him for cheap. I sold him for a 2021 first and Jerry Jeudy. I think Judy's going to be a breakout player in the future, and my team's set up for the future. So adding Jerry Jeudy to that receiver core, it's a wide receiver 4 for me, where I took away wide receiver 1 and kind of just bumped up Golladay and AJ Brown. So
yeah, I don't want to pump my own tires here, but it was on my agenda to move my 1 share of Michael Thomas in Dynasty this offseason. I moved him straight up for Zeke as I needed a workhorse running back to contend in this league. And I felt like I gave up a little bit of value, but coming off of his career and record-breaking year, I just had a feel like regression was due, whether he was going to come down to 160 targets or 140. I wasn't betting on an injury, but I was betting on the Saints running the ball more, Drew Brees' arm not moving not pressing downfield as much, even though I heard this week on the GM Shuffle that he was fairly atrocious and very infrequently moving the ball downfield last year, like beyond 20 yards, which if you look at Michael Thomas's number,
he only did it twice.
Michael Thomas is
all
not,
year.
He's not a downfield guy. He's like, he's like a really nice Julian Edelman. Like he's a target hog. I think he had probably a career high in touchdowns, but I don't think he was ever going to be, a downfield Cortland Sutton, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams.
He reminds me of Chris Godwin. He reminds me a lot of Chris Godwin.
There you go. I feel like
DJ
Moore has the opportunity. Like DJ Moore could become Michael Thomas. I don't think DJ Moore is going to be a big downfield guy, but he's a guy who runs great routes and will be very dependable as a quarterback's number 1 option. Anyway, we're digressing. I love it, but let's get going. So we alluded to our Mo Alley Cox
and Braxton Berrios. We were talking about Braxton Berrios. I want to talk about Chris Hogan.
Oh yeah.
Why is he back in the league? He's 32 years old, a lacrosse player turned football player, and this guy.
Lacrosse players are true athletes.
And this guy, but then this guy's been playing for nobody. He played for the Panthers, I think, last year and got nothing, and now he's going to get 10 targets a game for the New York Jets. So he's a waiver wire addition for me. So,
Love it. Yeah.
mhm.
You got to root for lacrosse guys, too.
But yeah, let's talk about Mo Cox now.
Yeah, so Jack Doyle was practicing in full again this week, so expect him to be back in some form or another. But I would be watching that game closely because it sounds like Frank Reich was pretty excited with how Mo Alley Cox did in replacing Doyle. So I would imagine, regardless of the health of Doyle and at some point Burton, he's probably earned himself a significant role going forward. So if we see a less explosive week out of him, that's probably your last chance to buy him because Frank Reich, he knows what he's doing over there, and he's not going to let talent just sit on the bench. He'll probably let his veteran guys earn their time back on the field a bit, but when push comes to shove, this is a team that has a chance of winning their division. That's why they brought in Phil Rivers to compete this year. They're not tanking for Trevor like half the league is right now. So if Mo Alley Cox is their explosive guy, get him while you can.
Yeah. And I want to say Philip Rivers, his quarterback style is, he likes to push the ball when the tight end runs a slant and he runs a longer slant and then he cuts up. Philip Rivers loves to dink the ball in there. He just dinks it in there perfectly. It's just he lets and then he lets the guy just catch it like over his shoulder, and it's a perfect little dink pass. So Mo Alley Cox is the perfect tight end for that. And he loves the tall guys because he is not the most accurate passer at this stage in his career. Like he's been a little questionable at times. And Mo Alley Cox is going to be a nice security blanket where he can just throw it up, and he's 6'8", so he's going to have a chance to get it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw for years what Phil Rivers did with Antonio Gates, and he leans on his running backs, his tight end, and he likes his possession receiver. And then occasionally he'll push it downfield, and it feels like that Colts offense is set up very similarly. They have Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. Taylor seems to be the workhorse. Mo Alley Cox in the Gates role. T.Y. Hilton maybe more in that Keenan Allen role, and Michael Pittman in that Mike Williams role, or at the time Vincent Jackson, that bigger body that can get downfield on the outside.
Yeah. Dontrell Inman. Some names from the Chargers there, some old ones. I played so much Madden. I know all the names from 11 to now.
Oh, I played so much too. I'm just so much older than you that it's all brain dump. I can't remember what I had for lunch 2 days ago. But moving on, you alluded to moving your Michael Thomas share for a Jerry Jeudy share, who I believe is questionable this week. So we could be looking at. Yeah, what I did thought I honestly have not watched a whole lot of 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock games the past 2 weeks. So what happened in that game?
He made a very nice catch from Drew Lock that was a bad throw. He turned his body to snag it, and as soon as he turned his body, he got hit from a guy from behind, and then a guy hit him from straight on. So it was just two bang bangs right in a row. So it was just he's rattled. I think he's going to be a go. But he's just like taking it easy, because like your body sore as heck. Watching my words after getting hit like that.
Yeah, and the Broncos are going to be without Drew Lock this week. They're without Sutton for the year now, so I would expect a run heavy, slow the other team down game plan. Who do they play this week?
A lot of wide receiver screens. The Denver Broncos. Who are they playing? Let me give you a quick Google search.
I am drawing a large freaking blank. But I added KJ Hamler in a few leagues because there's a good chance. Even last week, KJ Hamler, I believe, ran more routes than Jerry Jeudy. And then also in that game, Philip Lindsay is back practicing again, and he looks good. He looks like he's on a timetable. That'll get him back in Thursday of next week against the Jets, so don't expect him to go. Royce Freeman and Melvin Gordon, I expect them to lean on Melvin Gordon a bit. And like I said, slow the pace of this game down. Maddie looks frozen right now, so I'm just going to keep going until we get to whatever he's looking up, and then we'll get back to it. Sunday night's game, I believe Sunday or Monday night, is the Packers-Saints. And this had all the makings at the beginning of the year to be a great legendary shootout between Drew Brees, Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers, probably future Hall of Famer, and two of the top wide receivers in the league, especially over the past couple of years, between Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams. And it looks like both of them are going to be out. So this had all the makings of a shootout. And now we have two of the slowest neutral game script offenses playing against each other without their two biggest fantasy assets in the passing game, Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara. You got to give them some respect on the ground. I would not expect Devontae Adams to go, and that's a night game. So have somebody else planned earlier in the day, or if you're looking at a Lazard or an MBS, that's fine as well. And then last but not least, we have A.J. Brown on this list because Matt made this list before official outs were ruled for the week for most teams. But A.J. Brown has been listed as out. No surprise there. They play the Vikings, who have looked pretty bad. They're weak at cornerback. They just lost Barr for the season. This was my fantasy big bet of the week to have the Titans are only giving up 2.5. And if you listen to the GM Shuffle this week, I know I reference that one a lot. That's just one of my favorite. It's a non-fantasy football take with Michael Lombardi, who was a GM in the NFL for a number of years. So he understands how to handicap the games himself. This was one that he likes. He does expect it to be close, but the Titans, the algorithm he used, he talks about how he expects that the Titans should have been bigger than 2.5-point favorites. But that means Corey Davis, it could be his week again. Humphreys has played pretty well in A.J. Brown's absence. And then Jonnu Smith, I'll be having – is that English? I'll be having some Jonnu Smith in my DFS lineups this week. Actually, I'll have him starting in 2 of my dynasty leagues. Heavy 2 tight end starts in 1.5 tight end premium leagues this week.
I love it.
With all the wide receiver and running back injuries going on, when I was big on Gesicki's, Jonnu Smith's, Hawkinson's. Jarwin has not panned out, obviously. So I have a Gesicki, Jonnu.
I have so much Jonnu.
It's not a stack, but the 2 tight end stack in the tight end premium to flex it. It's a big week.
I have a tight end premium league where they get 1 point for first down and 1 point extra point per reception. Jonnu Smith had 30 points, and that's more than like my super flex spot. So in my league, I'm starting T.J. Hawkinson and Jonnu Smith like the rest of the year. It's just lock and key there.
I love it. That that Titans offense, that running game hasn't been there. Their interior line hasn't been what it was to open up space for Derrick Henry last year. Again, GM Shuffle, they talked about it. Derrick Henry's not a creator. He needs that offensive line push to get going. But that being said, their play action has still worked well. Tannehill is still super efficient. Maybe regression comes at some point. But when your targets are A.J. Brown and Jonnu Smith, these are guys who are just athletic beyond belief, and the play action is working, so they're able to get Tannehill a little bit more time and allow these guys to get downfield for some bigger plays and some yards after catch. I know you were out of there
offense.
And I think everybody got, for the most part, people a little bit cheap because everybody was expecting regression with the year Tannehill had and A.J. Brown had. Maybe A.J. Brown was the only, and Henry are probably both a little overpriced, but Henry?
With his knee injury? No, A.J. Brown. With his knee injury, I just got him for cheap. I believe I gave up it was a league with I traded with my little brother, actually, of all people. And I moved him James Robinson and a 2021 second for A.J. Brown.
I like it. I think you got him for the right price there. I mean, you don't tell your little brother, but if your brother needs a running back to win this year and he's going for it, like, that works out for everybody.
Exactly. And
anyway,
I got another receiver.
So Maddie, we got through everybody on the list. Anything you want to input?
I'm sorry I dropped. I had some internet connection issues, but I'm glad that Kyle was able to hold the stream together for us. Um, I want to say my flex of the week is Jeff Wilson Jr., not Jarek McKinnon. He's going to be the goal line back. He's going to get the touchdowns if they get touchdowns. But I don't think the Giants defense is that good. I think it's 49ers Giants. And I think that the 49ers are going to see some success with Nick Mullins because we've seen him play. We know what he is. He's a dual threat. He's a RPO kind of runner. So we're going to see some Jarek McKinnon in there. He's going to get PPR points, but in a standard league, if you need a flex player, Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to get some touchdowns. Go look at his 2018 games when he was playing with when the others were hurt. He had like 18, I think, PPR points. So he knows how to handle a load. So
No comment.
crazy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, glad we got to do this again, Maddie, and we'll try and keep it going every week. We'll try and get the pregame report Saturday morning, and then the post week report hopefully Tuesday before waivers start Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, so we can get you guys at least our best opinions on the information we're getting, because we all have the same information for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll do our best to interpret and give you guys the right
It's how you
advice,
decipher.
so you can rub it in your opponent's faces and hopefully make a couple bucks along the way.
Yep, and we're just here to make the content that you guys deserve as fantasy gamers because we respect the heck out of you for being here. So thank you guys for listening, and on behalf of Kyle and I, have a great day.